My name is Patricia Martinez. I'm project manager at AEIDL, which is one of the 17 partners in the SERIGO consortium. Before we start, I wanted to indicate that we are recording the session for information. It's an informative session. So if somebody, in any case, do not wish to appear in any way, image, name, or anything, please let us know. You can write in the chat, you can send us an email, and we will take care of these considerations. For today, it's just 1 hour, but hopefully a lot of content to kick off the CoP, next activities, and start some discussions with you. We will be hearing very shortly from our project coordinator at SERIGO, Agnes Németh from the University of Eastern Finland, of what is SERIGO project in a nutshell, and equally important, the 5 pilots that are performing in SERIGO will also do a pitch. Then we will hear from our colleague Alexandra what is the SERIGO CoP, specifically, practically speaking, what are the objectives, the vision, the future actions, timeline, etc. We will have a short discussions on some questions around social innovation, multi-stakeholder collaboration for inclusion of vulnerable communities with what we call sibling projects. So 3 other Horizon Europe funded projects that have been working around this, so that we can start learning from each other on how to build the SERIGO CoP, and then we'll wrap up with what is coming next after this. Before we jump into today's content, just a very quick, let's say, icebreaker, or to get to know each other, or to stretch a leg virtually. If you can join us at the Slido, you can either click on the link that my colleague Marisol sent in the chat, or to your browser if you go to slido.com with the 1248 code, or just third option, probably also faster, to grab your phone and scan the QR code. To first of all get to know where are you joining from today. This is a very open question, and you might decide to reply as you think it fits better to you in this term of location. We have almost 60 people connected at this moment. There were 40 people registered. We are very glad that this very first time that we are meeting everybody, we have a significant turnover to learn about the SERIGO CoP. And yeah, from many different places: Estonia, Slovakia, Ireland, Turkey, Finland, Germany, India. Wow. Local places, regional places, countries. Up to you to choose. You might say that you're coming from a rural area, urban area, very urban. Okay, this is just quick questions to get a bit of a flavor, like the same for the second one. As you know, today we are talking about multi-actor, multi-stakeholder collaboration, and this means bringing together public, private sector, third sector, academia. In our case, very important in the social and solidarity economy actors, and so we would like to know who is there, quite equally for researchers and civil society, some policymakers. Nice, thanks for joining. Social economy practitioners. All right. A significant turnover for researchers. As we know, all the SERIGO and also the sibling projects are research and innovation actions. Great. A bit about of a, let's say, content-wise technical questions for opening debate for the day. What do you consider the main challenge for vulnerable people living in rural areas are? We have a non-exhaustive list. You might find that there are others. You might also wonder, what do we understand by vulnerable people, because for sure this is open to interpretation sometimes. Is a concept that is affected by intersecting factors such as economy, status, health, age, gender, geographical location, cultural identity. 20, almost 30 replies. Unemployment, it seems to be a critical issue with the connectivity, the isolation, access to healthcare, education, housing. All right, but employment as a core for socioeconomic inclusion, for sure, it's very important, and I think it's a critical point that all the projects presented today are touching a point. And the last one, before I give the floor to speakers and we hear about content. So what do you think a community of practice is, or better, what it is for you? We will be here from our colleague Alexandra, what it is, what we are planning for SERIGO and how we understand it. But we know that many other people are also applying this methodology or similar ones. So what it is for you? Learning networking, knowledge exchange, sharing ideas, synergies, progress throughout that community of practice, exchange and collaborate, change making throughout this sharing knowledge and networking. All right. So I think it seems we are in the right track, at least on how we perceived this. Thanks a lot. Thanks for this very quick brainstorming together. Now I will stop talking and I will give the floor to our project coordinator, Agnes Németh from University of Eastern Finland, who is going to do a short introduction of the SERIGO project, scope, objectives, and the results, and also passing the floor to our 5 piloters to get to know what is going to happen also locally. Hi, Agnes. So please.
Hi, Patricia. Thanks. I will try to quickly share the slide. Can you see it, right?
Yes, okay. It's coming.
Yeah. Full screen?
Full screen. Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, thanks. Welcome, everybody. Let me say a few words about the SERIGO project. I'm Agnes Németh from the University of Eastern Finland, which is the lead partner of the SERIGO project. Our project aims to enhance resilience, social inclusion, and well-being of vulnerable groups in European rural areas through socially innovative solutions initiated by or involving actors from the social economy. We are doing this by conducting community-based participatory research through several case studies and 5 pilot projects. We also stimulate debates and promote collaboration on the topic among diverse stakeholders in Europe. And finally, yet importantly, we aim to provide policymakers with recommendations for policy development around social inclusion in rural areas. There are 17 partners in the project from 11 countries all over Europe, from Finland to Spain, and from Ireland to Turkey. The partnership is made out of several universities and research institutes, policy experts, and foundations, an association, local action group, and even a municipality. Our primary objectives are firstly to analyze the drivers of social exclusion and also the forms of vulnerability among people in various rural areas, and then to explore the capacity and limitations of innovative social economy solutions. We also aim to identify the potential gaps and also benchmark the policies and practices that promote the social economy at different spatial levels in Europe. Then We also co-designed 5 experimental pilots that implement socially innovative solutions supporting vulnerable groups and also promoting their social inclusion. And finally, but not least, we try to co-create and validate policy recommendations on how to better meet the needs of vulnerable groups. And also to create the enabling net frameworks for upscaling social innovation in the rural areas.
Sorry, Agnes, you're
muted
yourself.
Sorry, I clicked by mistake on my mic. So,
No
so for creating an evidence base for improved EU policies, the SERIGO project combines a range of methodological perspectives clustered around desk research, fieldwork, and action research. This entails a complex and interactive process that enables triangulation and synergies in the research process. We found it important to make this methodology, to create this methodology for the project, because this is allowing us for continuous adaptation and refinement of the research as new data emerges during the years, and making the research as flexible as possible and also very robust. We launched the project in January of this year, and it will last for 4 years. We already developed its initial conceptual framework as well as its analytical framework. And at the moment, we are in the midst of the preparatory work for fieldwork and action research through the case studies and pilot projects. Let me start with the case studies a bit. The project is analyzing empirical data from 24 case studies coming from 12 countries. You can see on the map indicated in orange. And it investigates the framework conditions leading to social exclusion, drivers, and potential of the social innovation in improving vulnerable groups' situation in very diverse rural settings and through various social economy solutions. And then, besides this, the project is co-creating 5, we call these 5 experimental pilots in Austria, Estonia, Finland, Slovakia, and Slovenia. And these pilots are empowering participants. That's the aim, through multi-actor co-creation laboratories to improve social inclusion and encourage these groups to actively engage within their rural communities. And now, after these few slides, I would like to give the word to our piloters, we call them in the project, from these 5 countries I just mentioned, to tell a little bit about their projects. So I would like to give the word now to Bianca Wulz in Austria, who will talk about their project in Carinthia. Bianca, please take the floor.
Thank you very much for the introduction. Well, as you already said, we're carrying out a program shaped for migrant women and refugee women to develop like a female self-empowerment network in rural areas close to Villach. It's in the south of Austria, actually close to the Italian border. And we're aiming to empower the participants with offering basic literary models and all different kind of workshops working in a participatory approach. In a partnership with the Rebula Intercultural Garden, the project supports women to define their goals and to get into self-organization and achieving their goals by using the skills and networks received through this pilot project. And well, the overarching aim is to develop a female self-empowerment network in the rural areas of the south of Austria. Yeah, that's about the project. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bianca. Now I would like to continue and go to the Estonian project. My team will present their project from Võru region in Estonia.
Hello, thank you very much. And from this point, I can, give a little overview from Estonian pilot and how we are doing at this moment. We have been specified our group that we are focusing in a project application. We just mentioned the older adults, but now we have been focusing it and taking more specific focus on men, which are in an older age and which are at the risk of social isolation after retirement, especially. And we are now, when we first started, of course, our main team, which is working with the project, are mainly consisting from women. So we understood that for organizing some kind of events or some kind of a pilot action for men, we have to first investigate what are the real problems behind this topic, because we have seen that there are a lot of men who are really struggling with social isolation and being lonely after retirement and in their pension age. So at the moment we are working with that kind of method, which is called journey of opinions, which means that we have been working out a method with the specific work page and guidelines and also some web trainings, where we call the different leaders to initiate discussions in their communities, workplaces, or so on. And we have been in contact with those possible discussion leaders, and we can say that we will have approximately 20 discussion groups going on. They are mostly organized in South Estonia, but a few of them are even some other places from Estonia. You can see the topics on this slide as well, which we have focused, the discussion groups mainly. And I'm really happy to see that although it has been quite difficult to find those group leaders who will initiate those discussions, but we have had our local work office, which is a partner in this project. And we also have one prisoner officer, which is also a partner here and who is ready to initiate that kind of discussions in prisons, actually. So it's really nice to see that although it's not easy to get those discussion leaders who will initiate the discussions, but we have still found a really valuable contacts for that. So at this point, we are collecting during the November, we had those discussions. And now we are waiting the results, what the discussion leaders will send us. And after that, we will analyze the results and we will work forward for some design or co-design seminars to really understand what the problem is and what would the possible pilot action would be based on the journey of opinions results. Thank you. That was the most important I wanted to say in this point.
Thank you, Mai. Thank you. Now I quickly would like to give the word to Marjatta Pikkarainen from North Karelia, Finland.
Hello, everyone. I come from Kainuu region, North Karelia region from Finland. And our pilot is going to be about rural women who are at risk of isolation and marginalization. And it has very much to do with the circumstances. We are talking about very remote and sparsely populated areas when we talk about Kainuu and North Karelia and their rural areas. So there are more square kilometers very often than inhabitants over there. And especially there are very few women over there. they are the distances are long. You can talk about a neighbor when he or she lives within 20 kilometers easily, and also social networking and communities are very small over there. But there are women who very often live in farms, so they are very, very committed to live there, but they need to find a source of income from very various sources to get their living and to be able to live there where they want to live. And that's why we're going to build a training program. And we are now monitoring what these training programs would be, but maybe business planning, customer service, marketing skills. We want to stimulate small-scale entrepreneurship for rural women and also their associations. And we want to also help enterprises in those remote places to face workforce shortages and to face some recruitment challenges in remote regions of Finland. And at the moment, we are monitoring what this exact training program would be, and we've been asking, and at the moment, we've had answers that at least there should be skills concerning networking, marketing, digital skills, cooperation skills, and also skills about resilience and innovations. But this is what we're going to do, and we're now building our training program.
Thank you, Marjatta. Thank you very much. So traveling from Finland, we are going to Slovakia now, and I would like to ask Juraj Turán to speak on behalf of the municipality of Ostrováň.
Hello, everybody. I'm Juraj from the Faculty of Social and Economic Sciences, but now I'm representing
I'm afraid we lost you,
We lost Juraj. Okay, so it's not my connection,
so maybe,
it's theirs.
okay,
we can move on.
Yes,
we can move on to Slovenia then until when Juraj can get back. So I would like to give the floor now quickly to Slovenia, to Katja Beck-Kos, who will talk on the project in Poljane, Slovenia. Let me move the slide.
Thank you, Agnes.
Okay.
Hello to all of the practitioners out there. I was really looking forward when I saw India and everything from all over the space. So I'm here to introduce our pilot project that we are working on in Poljane in Slovenia. It's a small community in the rural area. It has very rich natural surroundings. However, like many, as we heard, Poljane also faces challenges as aging population, and especially in comparison to Estonia, we are focusing on elderly women who are living alone, and also limited youth involvement, lack of cohesion, and combining together with the lack of tourism offer. Our project tackles these challenges by empowering these vulnerable groups through sustainable participatory tourism based on local heritage and crafts. So we are going to involve local residents in order to create opportunities from them to showcase their skills, and connect with visitors, connect with each other, and through that also earn additional income, and in the end, of course, strengthen their self-esteem. Together with a local social enterprise and the local municipality, this initiative is about strengthening the community, preserving cultural and natural heritage, and improving also policies for better social inclusion. So the project offers 3 key benefits. One is empowerment of vulnerable groups that I was already talking about, their access to training and mentoring, And also we are going to tackle and try to improve local local support system for how to bring economic how to bring social economy more into use as with to answer the challenges that rural society is facing. So together we would like to build Polčane where also traditions or skills are bringing together people and everyone feels at home.
Thank you, Katja. Thank you. I wonder whether Juraj is back with us, or did we lose him?
I think that he might be trying to reconnect.
If he is not, I can briefly mention.
Okay, yes, perfect.
Thank Jakub. Yeah.
Yes,
so
yes,
Jakub.
Yeah, I'm Jakub, also from the Comenius/Ostrovany team from Slovakia. Great to be here today. I will be in Juraj's shoes because we will probably have very poor internet connection at the faculty, so there is some capacity building to be done there. But we'll be working with the municipality of Ostrovany on two main areas. So one is access to the labor market and facing energy poverty with the target group of marginalized Roma communities who constitute 80 to 90% of the local population. And we will do that through development of a business plan, and subsequently establishing a local social enterprise, which would be rather broad in its scope, so that it can, fully capitalize on the local potential, whether it's through, some local public services that are currently externally contracted, or some services that are necessary for the school, or requalification for the local community so that they can access the wider labor market. This is roughly the summary. In terms of the energy, there is, just to give you a brief overview, there is often lack of the basic infrastructure, such as access to electricity, central heating. So what we are thinking of something very simple as working with the local forestry industry and using the waste wood for production of briquettes, so that they can use slightly cleaner source of heating if they are using often some provisional waste materials. So this is a brief summary. The key partner is the municipality itself, but unfortunately they can't speak English, so we are working with them on the project and also helping them with the presentation. But they are the key carrier of this pilot. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jakub, for telling these on behalf of the municipality and also Juraj. Thanks very much for everybody, and please follow us. But I would like to now give the word to Alexandra, maybe, or Marisol to continue. I will stop sharing my slides. So thanks very much for listening.
Thank you, Agnes, and to everybody. And yes, Alex, please, the floor is yours to present now, practically speaking, what the SERIGO CoP is about and what I have been planning.
Yes, can you just confirm that you can see my presentation at the moment?
Yes.
Yeah, we do. Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our CoP launch. I'm Alexandra Yaghil. I'm a policy expert, and I'm the project manager for SERIGO on behalf of AEIDL. I am here to tell you briefly what this is all about. And so we thought, as an intro, to remind ourselves what we mean by a community of practice. And we mean a group of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact on a regular basis. So we are at the crossroads of three things, which are a domain, so a shared interest, a community, because it's all about building relationships, and a practice, of course, a body of knowledge or some methods or some best practices. In our case, what are those three items? So our project domain as Agnes mentioned, is about exploring how socially innovative solutions, especially involving the social economy, can actually foster well-being and inclusion in rural communities. The community is, in this case, people and organizations with simply an interest in the topic, in social innovation, in the inclusion of vulnerable communities in a rural setting. And the practice here, and I'll come back to this in a moment, is about co-creating together, validating together key research outputs from the SERIGO projects. There are multiple, I will come back to that, but also very importantly, it's to exchange knowledge, to learn from each other, and to bridge geographical, disciplinary boundaries, because we call upon various types of stakeholders here. Just to give you a short overview of who we're talking about, what are the roles here. So AEIDL, which is the European Association for Innovation in Local Development, we are managing, moderating the CoP. We have, of course, the SERIGO project partners that Agnes introduced, are part of the CoP, including, of course, our pilot partners. And then we have members outside of the consortium, which is very important. We have several of you today, and we thank you again, and please spread the word. So what are our objectives with the SERIGO CoP? As I mentioned, we want to co-create and we want to validate with you some of our outputs. We want to create a platform for knowledge exchange, for peer learning, and we want to be able to represent and include vulnerable groups. And of course, the expected outcomes are that this CoP will allow for some sustainability of the outputs, of the deliverables, of the impact, indeed, of the project beyond the lifetime of the project. We want to broaden participation from diverse stakeholders. As I said, we're looking at different types of stakeholders from across the EU, but also from the neighboring countries. We want to strengthen the alignment, the synergies with similar projects, with similar networks. And of course, as also Agnes mentioned, we are aiming at influencing policy. So concretely, what do we expect from the SERIGO CoP members? It's pretty straightforward. We would love if you could contribute, validate our project outputs and results, which we will submit to you. We will be organizing both webinars and hybrid workshops until 2027. I'll come back to that. We are hoping that you'll find the CoP as a nice and interesting platform to discuss and to share ideas, to debate maybe, and maybe join our final conference, which will be in Brussels. And you might wonder what's in it for you more concretely. What we are hoping that you can get from this, I think it's come across already, I hope it has come across, is really networking with peers. It's potentially initiating collaborations for the future. Obviously, it's knowledge sharing, gaining insights into some innovative solutions that are already in place, and maybe on how you could scale them or replicate them. Obviously, linked to that would be skills development. And eventually as well help us influence policy, because we will be developing policy recommendations, policy tools, and capacity building moments for policymakers at EU level. Even more concretely, here are the different activities and their timeline. As I said, regularly we're talking about having a space to communicate about the project, so giving you updates, but also a space for you to share knowledge, but also to review specific outputs from the projects in a very easy way, I have to say. We will make it as easy and streamlined as possible and interesting. We will be organizing hybrid workshops in 2025, 2026, and 2027 in all of the countries where we have a pilot. These teams are kind of provisional, but they'll be soon finalized, but you have a little bit of a glimpse into what it could look like. They will be hybrid. So there will be workshops on site. If you can join on site, amazing. There'll be workshop online. So it will be hybrid. And we will also have very interesting webinars where we are going to bring best cases and practices from across Europe and beyond, linking also them to our case studies from the project. And also, I should say, feel free to say, well, I have something interesting. You've seen this during the presentation. I would love to contribute to, I don't know, the one on community building and cohesion. We are always looking for good practices to be presented and discussed. I was talking a few times about the outputs on the project that we would love to hear you about or for comments. So these here on the screens are examples of the things that we would like you to look at potentially, like the guidelines for the co-creation and research of inclusive and empowering pilot actions, which we've talked about, or the toolkit for practitioners, or of course, the policy recommendations. This is just an indicative list of the types of outputs to review. Maybe now I will give the floor to my colleague Marisol to give you some insights into how practically this is working to join and to interact. Marisol, the floor is yours.
Hello.
You tell me when you
Hello,
want
Alex.
me to switch the slide.
Yeah, we can. Yeah. So hello, everyone. This is Marisol. I'm the communication manager of the project of SERIGO. I have been the one sending you emails and messages through the chat. And I just wanted to introduce briefly how to join the CoP. So first of all, if there are some people who are already part of the community of practice, but if you are not and you want to be there, you just can scan this QR code that you have in the presentation, but I also put the form in the chat. And it's just a short form that we ask you some brief information about you or your company. You can join as individual or as a company, and just give us some information about you, and we will give you access to the platform that we can explain in the next slide. So we have Teams, Community of Practice Teams workspace. That the idea of this space is that we can just have it as communication platform, so we can interact. We will be there, all the SERIGO project, all the SERIGO partners, and as well the members of the CoP. So feel free to send your messages, your questions, and the idea, in fact, because in this webinar, we won't have a lot of time for questions or for more information, but if you want to know more, if you have any doubts or something to discuss, feel free to go there. For now, it's a bit empty, but the idea is that we will have more information, more documents, all that Alexandra presented. And to start, we publish a brief post, and you can go there, reply to this post, and present yourself, introduce your company, and maybe we can find some synergies and collaboration there. So in these teams, we have 3 main channels. The general is to share some questions and interact, as I said. There is another channel that is useful resources, that here we will upload some documents that we think is interesting regarding social inclusion, social innovation, etc. And finally, the last channel is documents to review, that here we will upload all the outputs that Alexandra mentioned to ask for your input, for your comments and your revision. So if you joined the community of practice and you didn't receive any link to these team channels, please contact me. You have here my email at the end of this screen. If not, feel free to start using it. And if you want to receive the invitation, make sure that you join first the CoP, that you fill in this form, and then let's start collaboration. And I think that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marisol, very much. Yeah, it's pretty much it. I went fairly quickly because now I want to absolutely give the floor for our panel discussion. Last thing I would say is please follow us on our social networks, SERIGO, and join the CoP and spread the words. And now back to Patricia.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Marisol, to Agnes, to the 5 piloters. I hope that everybody could get a good overview of what the project is about, what we're planning to do, how we plan to collaborate. You have all the links, as Marisol said, in the chat. You need to absolutely go back to contact any of us, to contact specifically one of the speakers. But now it is time also to see what can we learn from other initiatives, also other EU-funded projects that have been also working on social inclusion, social innovation of different vulnerable groups in rural areas through social innovation, so that we learn from one another, which is a key part of this CoP, right? We were sharing in the word cloud. Is about knowledge exchange, about networking, about peer learning. So for this almost last part of the first session, I would like to welcome first Sonia Marcos Naveira from the University of Burgos, project coordinator of ESIRA, enhancing social innovation in rural areas. It's also a multi-actor project, 15 organizations from 8 European countries, and you, Sonia, are joining from Bolivia. So good morning to you, and thanks a lot for making the effort of being here today for this first exchange with CIVIM projects. I would also like to invite to join Blanca Casares from AEIDL, project manager at AEIDL, policy analyst, member of the also EU-funded project Horizon Europe Grass Ceiling, and you are one of the coordinators for the policy forum, specifically within Grass Ceiling, which is about gender equality in rural areas, agricultural innovation systems. And last but definitely not least, also to welcome Aisling Mortag, postdoctoral researcher at the University of Galway, Ireland. The University of Galway is a coordinator of another EU-funded project, FLIARA, that stands for Female-Led Innovation in Agriculture and Rural Areas. So what we ask you, the three of you, for today, for this first exchange with you, is to reflect together around two main, let's say, focus: social innovation in rural areas and ensuring inclusivity. And I would go first with you, Sonia, for this focus on social innovation in rural areas, how we create this condition for social innovation through multi-actor cooperation. And what I wanted to ask you, particularly in your experience with ESIRA, so what role do you think that your project ESIRA play in addressing needs that are specific for vulnerable groups in rural areas through social innovation?
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for your kind presentation and introduction. Well, for me, it's a pleasure to be part of the SERIGO Community of Practice, because it's our sister project in this call. Yes, the role of the SIRA project addressing the specific needs of vulnerable groups is first to understand better the situation and specific needs of these vulnerable groups in rural areas, and then to facilitate, manage, foster, and support a process of social innovation led by the rural community through multi-actor platforms and rural labs and community of practices. Rural communities have to be fully aware of these needs and have to be involved in how to address them, because this process of social innovation and social inclusion is part of their own development as a community, and the way to have a stronger, more resilient, prosperous, and yes, more rich rural community. To perform this role, one of our objectives is to stocktake, analyze, and better understand the context and challenges of social exclusion in rural areas. And during the first year of the ESIRA project, we have been working to identify, analyze the drivers of social inclusion social exclusion in 9 regions across 7 countries. Considering the particularities of the type of the rural area, the disparities and the intersection among groups of the population, especially vulnerable groups at a higher risk of exclusion and poverty. Well, we have identified different vulnerable groups, as you said in your pilots, in rural areas in Europe: women, elderly, disabled people, youth, migrants, and minorities. And we think that better understanding the specific needs of vulnerable groups is the first step in designing social innovation processes to address them. And now we are working on benchmarking also and assessing the effectiveness of policies, social services, and initiatives to empower vulnerable groups of the population and address economic and demographic challenges. The objective is to evaluate and assess the gaps, overlaps, and synergies to offer better support to rural communities. And also we are now identifying potential initiatives, both social, community, individual entrepreneurship, and networking initiatives, in order to support them in the coming months to become social innovation solutions to the specific problems of vulnerable groups in rural areas.
Thank you, Sonia. Okay, so departing for a deep understanding of what are the concrete needs in each territory. So the interventions are very local specific because vulnerable groups are very diverse and the rural areas are very diverse, and this joint diagnosis is always very important. And then to look at the services that are available, what is working, what is not, gaps that exist to better address those unmet needs. Okay, so now I would like to go to Blanca for the grass ceiling that you are particularly working with rural women. So what role, what is doing grass ceiling to empower these women in rural areas and to increase this innovation? We call them women-led innovation. So innovation that are created in rural areas thanks to women in agriculture, in rural economy, and in the rural communities.
Well, thank you so much, Patricia. Hello, everyone, and thank you for the invitation to this launching event of the CoP of SERIGO. I'm part of grass ceiling project working for AEIDL, in particular for the development of policy recommendations in this project. I would like to start with a first reflection of how has been women and even like the young people, young women, considered sometimes as a vulnerable group, and also related to farming as a part of a family farm. Then in our case, we are working with individuals, human beings like women, innovators in this project. Grass ceiling is a multi-actor project focused on these individuals, rural women and women working on farming sector. And is our Eyes on Europe project that started in 2022 and will end in next year in December 2025. Grass ceiling aims to increase rural women-led socio-ecological innovations, working with farm women innovators, but also other actors, researchers, policymakers in 9 countries, in Ireland, the Netherlands, Norway, Lithuania, Croatia, Spain, Sweden, Italy, and UK. And as Sonia presented, we start with an increase of understanding of the situation, also the recognition of the women's roles, the transformation of gender norms and stereotypes, and the identification of data gaps, collection of data. We have conducted some foresight analysis in the 9 countries, but also at EU level. We have been benchmarking different policies, common agricultural policy, the long-term vision for rural areas, the different strategies within the European Green Deal, but also at domestic level, at national level, other related regulation like parental leaves, land tenure, to understand the situation, to compare legal frameworks, and to gain more deeper insight into the women's innovations needs, potential trends. In the project, we have been working with 72 innovators so far across the 9 countries, providing them some training, creating spaces for exchange of good practices, dialogue, and so on. They have been exchanging different training programs on innovation, entrepreneurship, application of funding, digital marketing strategies, all the use of social media for the ones that are linked to e-commerce, website analytics, and so on, consumer surveys, but also some programs on mentorship, business development, larger economy structures, predictions to understand a larger market. And also they follow some training on storytelling and more related to consumption, consumers, tourism, and so on, because these 72 innovators are involved in different sectors. In particular, AEIDL, the European Association for Innovation in Local Development, together with COPA-COGECA, established the European Policy Forum for Women-led Innovation within the project, plays a key role in pushing change and increase this innovation in farming, but also in the rural economy, in the rural communities. It is an online space for dialogue, knowledge transfer, involving partners, but also external actors, external experts, policymakers, because the idea is use this space to present project results, discuss, co-create policy recommendations, validate some of our results, and then propose these policy recommendations.
Thank you so much, Blanca. I think our colleague Patricia's computer decided to not cooperate. Okay. So I will give the floor and ask the same question to you, Eileen. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your first name correctly. I'm sorry.
Thank you very much. So great to be here as well from the FLARA project. And FLARA is just approaching the end of its second year. So we've a lot of work done and a lot more to do. So in terms of women-led innovation and what is needed, I suppose FLARA has done quite a bit of research to date. And if we're to kind of speak to the specific question of multi-stakeholder cooperation and support, of course, there's a diverse range of elements needed to support women-led innovation, from maybe finance to softer things like skills development and building networks, of course. And what I suppose, if you're to speak to this specific question of multi-stakeholder cooperation, what we found very much is that I suppose there's an existing support base there that maybe could be accessed better. And what is key, I suppose, is building women's capacity, and the capacity can be very much strengthened by the existing supports. But I suppose women find it quite challenging to find time to apply, to navigate complex, I suppose, bureaucratic processes. So I guess here is where this kind of multi-stakeholder cooperation idea is key, and how we might empower women better, and how the existing support system might support them better. So I guess here it's key that the key stakeholders are working together to maybe organise local information events, if there's things like one-stop shops to support the the kind of high uptake of the existing support system that is there. So I guess that's just one point to speak to, I guess. People working together and to build capacities around the existing support system. Of course, there's a range of ways that it can be improved, but maybe that's for another day. And another part of FLARA as well has been future foresight research. So similar to the grass ceiling project, we have been looking to kind of future potential for women-led innovation, and particularly around sustainability. And I guess what we very much found there, and what is, I suppose, an area that can empower women further, is this kind of untapped potential around women's contribution to sustainability innovations. And within that as well, there's a large range of innovations that we identified in the research. But again, things like communities of practice, that idea of people working together in multi-stakeholder cooperation, was very much part of the measures and solutions that could support women to become involved in innovations to a greater degree. So say co-creation and cooperation platforms, again, networks, and then also the idea of greater kind of communal spaces within rural and farming communities. And just to, I guess, talk about networks more specifically as well, what we're very much finding, if we want to empower women better, is that there's a diverse range of networks that are potentially needed, and accessing them is key. So it could be business networks or networks specific to women's area of innovation, and also within that spaces and places that connections can happen, be they online or physical places where there's local events or wider local groups. And again, coming back to the community of practice idea, this is, I suppose, an area of future untapped potential that if you come back to these areas of rural innovation opportunity that we have identified through the FLARA foresight research, that potentially there's room for places like communities of practice to bring stakeholders together, to learn together, exchange knowledge, to build kind of new areas of innovation opportunity in rural areas. So that's it for me for now. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Aileen. We have almost run out of time for this first hour, which is a bit crazy. We did want to ask Blanca and Sonia another question. So maybe I'm just going to ask you for one word, you, Sonia, on multi-actor platforms, building on what was just said, and you, Blanca, on the considerations maybe that should be made when we develop policy addressing inclusivity. But really, really 1 minute, if you don't mind, because I am aware that we're running out of time. Blanca, yeah, you can go first on policy making, really, and influencing.
Of course, and I will be as brief as possible. For the main considerations for developing policies, a gender perspective has to be considered not only on policy design, also in implementation and evaluation phases. There is an inherent lack of data. There are few statistics available that are segregated by gender, as well as region level, a rural grade of urbanization, and it makes really difficult to elaborate comparative studies on rural women across Europe. Then we need this systematic gender-specific data collection to be able to target actions. There is insufficient implementation of EU gender policies and or gender mainstreaming in EU policies, and it made it difficult to any mechanism to assess how we are achieving some of our goals. And we continue having the challenges in gender stereotypes in different policies, agriculture, climate, green sector. There is a lack of financial support with specific tax incentives or entrepreneurship programs for women. And there are many other policy needs, but I think it's crucial also to increase the female representation in decision making.
Thank you, Blanca. And Sonia, you have the last words on multi-actor platforms, as we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, yes, as you said, SIRA project is has a multi-actor approach, and this is something that we consider very important because a multi-actor platform is a representation of the social, economic, and institutional fabric of the rural territory that voluntarily commits to participating, collaborating with, and leading the innovative development process of the community. We think that is the best solution to look for collaboration among stakeholders, but it's necessary that all the different groups of the rural community are represented in the map, in the multi-actor platform. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sonia, Blanca, and Eileen. I really thank you so much for your contributions and for preparing this with us. I know we are overrunning, so it's time for us to close this COP launch. I truly hope that this was useful and it inspired you to maybe come in on this voyage with us on the SERIGO COP. We have our first hybrid workshop coming up on May the 6th, which will be so half online and half in Slovenia. Those of you who wish and who have registered to our newsletter and to our COP will of course receive the information. As I said earlier, and as was said by my colleague Marisol, please share your questions, join the COP, share your questions on the channels that we have there, and of course follow us on the social media. We are always very keen to get some feedback, to get some questions as well. Yeah, thank you again. The presentations will be all made available as well as the recording, as it was an informative session for anyone who would like to join in the future. Thank you so much, everyone, and I hope to see you soon.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank
Bye-bye.
you.